because already, of course, we are on the rolling lap for the feature race now. This is where it gets interesting. This is what the championship points are about, Andre, and uniquely in terms of the esports series that are out there at the moment, our champion at the end of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series will also claim 40 points for the team championship race, the real championship, as and when we get it going.
Yes, right. And I think we have to explain there's something special about the team championship. In European race, you think about a team like Hendrix Motorsports has 3 cars and they all collect points for the team, but that's not the case in NASCAR racing. In NASCAR racing, a team is a car, and the car is shared by 2 drivers, the EuroNASCAR Pro and the EuroNASCAR 2 driver. So in the end, Tobias Dauenhauer in the EuroNASCAR 2 and Loris Hesemans in the EuroNASCAR Pro, they share the 50 car, and they collect points for their own team, for the 50 Hendrix Motorsports car. So the champion will get 40 points for his car, and that can be a really big game changer. It's about, when we have 7 events in 2000, about 4% impact this virtual championship, but 40 points, that can make the big difference at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's equivalent to a race win, isn't it? Yeah, EuroNASCAR.com, as we heard from Jerome Galpin, maybe late this month, early part of next month, the revised full calendar will be announced as to how many rounds we will be able to squeeze in with the later start to the season. But we thank all of our partners around the world and all of the circuits that we're involved with for working with us to not only put this esports series together, but also to be as flexible as they can be in the current climate to try and schedule all of the races. So Jeffrey Rufen lines up on pole position. Tobias Dauenhauer alongside Jeffrey Rufen, the most successful driver we've had in EuroNASCAR Esports Series so far in terms of the heat races, but he's not had an overall win, and neither has Tobias Dauenhauer in second place. Alessandro Brigatti and Ulysse Delso line up on the second row of the grid. Neither of those have had a win so far this year. Brigatti won his heat, of course, but hasn't claimed an overall win in the main race. Andre Castro has, though. He sits down there in 5th position on the grid, row number 3, alongside Loris Hesemans, and the championship leader, Lasse Sorensen, is on row number 4 with Eric Filgueres. Alex Sedgwick, the number 78 Brax Racing machine, is on row number 5 alongside Alex Fontana, and then it is Andreas Jukumsu, Bavo Fallon that line up on row number 6. Row number 7 is where we see Michael Grotium alongside Vittorio Gorelli, Malin Kramers, Ben Kriener on row number 8, Giorgio Maggi and Vladimir Tjoitzis on row number 9, and the 10th row, just to give you that, is Davide Dallara and Lorenzo Marcucci. So that's the way the top 10 rows line up. 30-minute race. They're going to have to not overdrive the cars in the early stages. It's a difficult circuit to overtake. It's also hard on the tyres as well. If you put too much load into the tyres, the very clever dynamics of iRacing do mean that you might just run out of tyres by the end of the 30 minutes, so there might be a little bit of tyre management to come into this one as well. Hopefully we'll have a cleaner start than we had at Watkins Glen, where we had the big one at the exit of turn number 1 on the run up towards turn number 2. So let's hope that we get everybody safely around Tarzan and at least part the way around the first lap. So up towards what is Kumo, then on towards Ari Lyondike, which is the final corner here at Zandvoort on the 2.676 or 4.307 kilometre circuit. Jeffrey Rufen looking for his first esports win of the season in the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i.cin.com and Sim Racing League TV. Safety car will pull off, and we're about to get this 30-minute race underway. Good start from Jeffrey Rufen. It looks as though there's been a good start also from Ulysse Delso, who was looking to try and stay as close to the pit wall as he could. Tobias Dauenhauer's going to go all the way around the outside at Tarzan, though, to hang on to second place. Jeffrey Rufen leads Tobias Dauenhauer in second position. It is Ulysse Delso in what is not going to be third place. He's down into fourth because Alessandro Brigatti has hung on to third place. The two very similar looking cars, both of them red with black and white flashes to them, but it's Brigatti in third, Delso in fourth, Andre Castro in fifth place, and Lasse Sorensen in sixth. And for the moment, everybody is clean as they head up towards Rob Slottermacher, and then up towards, over the brow of the hill, and up towards Sturaflack. So Jeffrey Rufen leading the race. You can see his car bouncing over the curves. We go on board with the fourth place car, the former EuroNASCAR 2 champion Ulysse Delso, and look at what's going on behind. Lasse Sorensen and Andre Castro almost got themselves together there, heading round through the corner. It was all rather tight, and that has cost Andre Castro now a couple of places, because Justin Kuntz has squeezed his way through, and Loris Hazemans has gone through as well. So largely clean first 3/4 of the lap. Andre Castro tried to move there, Andre, didn't quite work, and it's cost him a couple of places.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit surprised that we did not have any big one on this track, because I think it's very, very difficult to control those heavy and powerful cars on a track like the Circuit Park Zandvoort. So props to all the drivers, very good job in the first lap, and I think we're now ahead of a very nice race. We see Jeffrey Rufen is very, very fast in first position. Then we have Tobias Downhauer. He is following Jeffrey Rufen. Will not let him get away. And then we have a big pack of drivers from different teams fighting for the position. So, yeah, it was a clean start. Very fortunate that we have something like this here at Zandvoort, a very narrow track. And now I'm really looking forward to this race, because I cannot find a guy who I would put my money on.
Yeah, it's going to be so close. I think it's going to be the case all season, but we're only 2 minutes into what is a 30-minute race. So there's loads of racing still to come in this third round of the championship. Remember, Lasse Sorensen leads the championship on 71 points coming into this one. He is the car that we ride on board with, looking at the coattails of the RDV competition Chevy that lies ahead in the hands of Frenchman Ulysse Delso. Ulysse Delso, just 22 years of age still, and looking to try and attack and defend at the same time. He ideally wants to get past Alessandro Brigatti, but Brigatti will not exactly make it easy. Brigatti's car with the all-red bonnet, it's red with black outer edges, to Ulysse Delso that sits behind in fourth place, and he is under pressure from Lasse Sorensen at the wheel of the DF1 Racing Chevy, the light green one with its white flashes that sits behind. Third place, Alessandro Brigatti, looking back at Ulysse Delso. Through the right-hander, picking up the throttle again on the exit of the corner. You can see the tail end wag as Alessandro Brigatti just gets on the throttle, maybe a split second too early, and has to counter it with a little bit of opposite lock to counter the oversteer. Lasse Sorensen looking to try and slipstream Ulysse Delso. Ulysse Delso will hook that inside line up towards Tarzan, and Sorensen now is going to try around the outside. The outside at Tarzan will give him the inside for Gerlach, which is where they're heading up to now, the left-hand kink. And has he made it stick? Yes, he has. Job done as far as Lasse Sorensen is concerned. The championship leader moves up into fourth position and will now turn his attentions to attacking heat winner Alessandro Brigatti that lies ahead. Flat out on the throttle as they head through Rob Slottermacher and then start to climb up the hill over the crest and in towards Sureflack, where the circuit starts to drop away all the way round through the corner. Andre Castro, having made his mistake, has now brought his DF1 Racing Chevy back inside the top six. He is now also looking to try and attack Ulysse Delso. He's got a great view of the battle that lies ahead, with really only Jeffrey Rufen having a little bit of a gap and some breathing space. Second, third, fourth, fifth, and this car here in sixth place, which we ride on board with, all absolutely together. And even behind Andre Castro, Alex Sedgwick is only 3/4 of a second adrift as he sits there in seventh position. Loris Hazemans is in eighth place, Eric Filgueras is in ninth, and Bavo Follon completes the top 10 currently. Remember, 40 points for the race winner from this race, 35 for second, descending by 1 point thereafter. Replay of Vladimir Tjoitsis, what happened to the Cypriot, onto the brakes, turning in towards the corner, snatches a brake, gets on the throttle way too early coming out of the corner, rotates him through 180 degrees, and that will drop Tjoitsis a long way down through the order. What a fight that we've got going on now for the first time, Andre. It looks as though Tobias Downhauer is just starting to get away from Alessandro Brigatti in third place, because he's got this car, Lasse Sorensen, right behind him.
Yeah, I think he's taken advantage of this battle behind him for third place, and I also think that Jeffrey Rufen is gaining a little bit of space to the second place. I think the gap is increasing. So yeah, I think Jeffrey Rufen has a good chance here to win his home race in the virtual Circuit Park Zandvoort. But Tobias Downhauer, yeah, I think he's able. Oh, I think we had a big crash there.
We did, yeah. Lasse Sorensen got together, unfortunately, with Alessandro Brigatti. Brigatti bounced off the barriers on one side of the circuit. Sorensen bounced off briefly onto the grass and touched the barriers on the other, but largely got away with an accident. It might have just put a little bit of damage on the car. So that means Sorensen is now 5th and Brigatti is in 7th place. Let's have a look. Yeah, curb from Sorensen pushes him inadvertently in towards Brigatti, and then Sorensen, because he went through the gravel on the right-hand bend, he couldn't then make the left-hand bend with the dirty tyres, and that allowed him to brush the barrier on the opposite side. So Sorensen drops from what was 3rd stroke 4th place down to 5th, and Brigatti drops from 3rd stroke 4th down to 7th, because they were both side by side at the time it happened. That has helped Andre Castro, who has now picked them both off and is now mounting a challenge for another podium position. Andre Castro has really been a star, hasn't he, in the EuroNASCAR Esports season. He didn't have a great deal of luck last time out at Watkins Glen, his home race, where he finished in 14th place, but he's had the pace in all of the heats so far, in all of the races. He just hasn't had the luck, has he, Andre?
Yes, right, and he won the prologue at Daytona, so
yeah,
he knows what it takes to win a sim race. He's doing a lot of virtual racings right now. I saw him on different oval tracks, on short tracks and stuff like that, so he's practicing a lot to get more experience in the sim racing world, and I think Andre Castro is one of those guys who's going to fight for the championship, for the overall championship in the first EuroNASCAR Esports season that we have in the history of NASCAR Whelen Euro Series.
The Ford of Alex Sedgwick we're concentrating on the moment, the EVP and Brax-backed machine looking to try and apply the pressure to the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion Lasse Sorensen. Lasse Sorensen, though, is going to ignore what's going on in his mirrors and focus on these two cars ahead of him. Ulysse Delceau at the wheel of the RDV competition Chevy that is running in 3rd place, but under pressure from Andre Castro, and Sorensen will want to catch both of them. Here is the 2nd place car, Tobias Dauenhauer. Now, he has broken away from those behind. He's got about a 2-second gap back to this little battle here in 3rd and 4th place, and Tobias Dauenhauer is 1 3/4 seconds off the race leader. Last time round, he matched Jeffrey Ruffin for pace. It was a 1 minute 41.02 from Jeffrey Ruffin last time. It was a 1 minute 41.09 from Tobias Dauenhauer, so just 7/100ths of a second difference in terms of their lap time. The fastest lap of the race at the moment, I think, has actually gone the way of Andre Castro. 1 minute 40.34, I think, is the fastest lap of the race that we've had. That happened a few laps ago from the American, as he sits there in 4th position, and in fact he's just gone over the start-finish line now, and has he gone even quicker? Yeah, that was a 1 minute 40.343 is that fastest lap that he has managed to set. So yeah, that was a couple of laps ago, so that's why it's purple. Fastest lap of the race, not the lap he's just completed, a couple earlier than that. There's the gaps as well, 2.5 seconds roughly between 1st and 2nd place. And now we look back at the battle for final place inside the top 10. This is Maren Kremers at the wheel of the 105 Chevy, fighting away with the PK Carsport machine of Bavo Fallon, and at the moment it is just Maren Kremers that lies ahead. So it's just the Dutch driver, the 22-year-old for Feed Victor Racing at his home circuit, hanging on to the place. Back towards the front of the order, Andre Castro now starting to feel the pressure. He's got the green Chevy of Lasse Sorensen sitting right behind him as we go on board with the American, looking across at the virtual driver Andre Castro, and then looking back at the car that's hunting him down, that being Lasse Sorensen. We're almost a 1/3 of the way through this race now, and are the lap times dropping off? Yes, they are for most drivers. They are dropping off about maybe a 0.3 to 0.5 of a second slower than they were doing earlier on. Lasse Sorensen still looking to try and hang on to 5th place whilst attacking for 4th if he can, but he'll be conscious of the championship points. Andre, you know Lasse as well as we do. Hugely likeable guy. Gentle giant is Lasse Sorensen. Unbelievably quick. But if you're leading the championship in the early stages and you're in 5th place, do you push it too hard to try and make the point with Andre Castro, or you just see it as a mistake and then sneak by?
I think it's very hard to tell, because on the one side, you know, consistency is key. So Lasse Sorensen leads the championship without a win. He knows that it's important to collect as many points as possible. On the other side, he's a racer, so when he sees a gap, he's going for it. So it's very hard to tell what his strategy be like, but if Andre Castro leaves the door open, I'm sure that Lasse Sørensen will take any opportunity to overtake him. But I think he will manage the risk a little bit. And you said it, he's a gentle giant. When you would meet him in the night, there's a 2-meter tall guy in front of you. I think you could get scared, but when you talk to him, he's a very nice guy.
He's a lovely, lovely guy. Yeah, but yeah, he's quite imposing at 6'3", 6'4". Here we go. There is our second place driver, Tobias Downham. You just see up the road Jeffrey Roof and the race leader turning into the next corner. Now, might not be that many more laps before we potentially start to get a little bit of traffic coming into play here. And if you catch it in the right parts here at Zandvoort, it's not going to cause you a problem. If you catch it through the twiddly bits, and there are several of those, it is going to cost you time, and that might put you back under pressure for position. The top three look fairly settled at the moment. Rufen from Danhauer from Del So. The best of the fights is still for 4th and 5th place. The yellow and white car, the Chevy of Andre Castro. Just behind that car there, Ulysse Del So, who heads over the start-finish line. Further down through the order, though, this is Ben Kriener under pressure from Andreas Jochumsen. And for the moment, it is just about the Scot who is ahead of the Dane. Right behind them as well is car number 479, which is going to be Michael Brottigan. Ben Kriener doing a good job of hanging on to 12th position. A driver who really started out in esports. He's got a lot of esports racing experience, has Ben Kriener. The Lux Simulators backed Chevy being run by Mishu Motors. Hanging on to the final place inside the top 12 and starting to feel the pressure from the couple of cars that are queuing up behind. To Andre Castro and Ulysse Del So. Ulysse Del So at the wheel of the number 10 RDV competition Chevy. He's got the DF1 machines sitting directly behind him of teammates Andre Castro and Lasse Sørensen. So Sørensen will be ever more calculated in any attack that he's going to put in there, bearing in mind it is his teammate that sits ahead. Trying to have a quick look at, thought there was a replay coming up there, but we didn't quite get the replay that we thought we might. And now Ben Kriener has, by the look of things, lost out here, hasn't he? Yeah, through has gone Andreas Jochumsen, and Kriener is now no longer in 12th place. He's down into 13th place and didn't quite spot where that happened, but either way, place has been gained there by the Scandinavian, and it is the reigning Super GT Denmark and champion, the 23-year-old Andreas Jochumsen, that's taken the place away. So we're fast approaching the halfway point of the race. 3rd, 4th and 5th still very much together. The red car, Ulysse Del So. The white and yellow machine is Andre Castro. He's got Lasse Sørensen right behind him. We go on board with the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Lasse Sørensen. Wide line going into, I think that was Hugenholtz. And then the speed starts to build as they go through Hunsrück and then up towards Rob Slottermacher. And then over the crest, then in towards Söderflack, which is the next of the sweeping right-handers. Giorgio Maggi's had a quiet race, the runner-up in EuroNASCAR 2 last year, the Swiss driver for Hendrix Motorsport, running down in 17th position at the moment. Driver who, as Andre suggested, has been putting in the time in the simulator to try and get to grips with the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and has been thoroughly enjoying the concept of it and giving him some sort of competition whilst we're not able to go racing for real. But say he just hasn't quite so far this season had the luck in any of the races, running down in 26th position in the championship standings. Best of the season so far of a 16th, the 34th last time out at Watkins Glen. And say now running well down the order as well. Antonio Ortiz at the wheel of the Fordzilla Circuit Valencia machine, involved in a squabble, but we head back towards 3rd, 4th and 5th place. Now Ulysse Del So has started to pull away again, so it keeps ebbing and flowing, Andre. We get to a point of the race where Ulysse Del So seems to come under pressure from Andre Castro and Lasse Sørensen, and then they sort of squabble a bit more, they hold each other up, and it allows the Frenchman just to pull away again in 3rd.
Yes, you're totally right. I think both DF1 drivers are putting pressures on themselves, so Ulysse Del So is able to get a little bit away ahead of them, but I think the DF1 drivers are a little bit faster than Elus on particular parts on the track. On the other parts, it's Elus who is a little bit quicker. You see them now getting a little bit closer to the red car again. So yeah, it's a nice battle, but I think we're going to have the fourth different winner in the fourth EuroNASCAR Esports Series race, including the prologue, because Jeffrey Rufen is doing a good job at front, and also Tobias Downhauer, if he can manage somehow to overtake Jeffrey Rufen, he would get his first win, and also Del So or even Lassen Sorensen. So we have a lot of guys in front of the standings right now who have no race in their pockets. So we will see the fourth different winner in the fourth race for sure. I think the only one who can destroy these stats, these numbers, is Andre Castro.
Yeah, you're very true. Looks as though that's another place change there. That is a place gain for Loris Hazemans. He moves up to 7th place, and Alessandro Brigatti continues to fall down through the order. Remember, the Italian won his heat. He started 3rd on the grid, but he's now down into 8th position by the look of things. So that is not what he would want to be doing in this one. Here is on screen now. Now, this is Guillaume de Flandre for RDV competition in 14th position. He's got Brautigam sitting right behind him. Michael Brautigam at the wheel of the 479 car in 15th place. Davide De Lara is not too far away either in 16th position. So no matter where you go through the order, they're like every round that we've had of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series in conjunction with iRacing, with support from i.cin.com and Sim Racing League TV. We've had some great racing, and all the way down here to the bottom of the top 20, Gordon Barnes with his hands full as well. Remember you saying, I was saying a few moments ago, Ulysse Del So had got away and it kept ebbing and flowing. All the gaps disappeared again. All of a sudden we've got 3 cars fighting for the final podium spot again. Ulysse Del So, Andre Castro and Lasse Sorensen are all equidistantly spread again, all pretty much bumper to bumper through the slower corners, and it's only when they head down the straights that the gaps begin to spread out again. The Frenchman ahead of the American, ahead of the Dane, with the British driver Alex Sedgwick always a present danger in the distance as well if any of these 3 slip up or bump into each other. And there are now only 12 minutes of the race to go, and these 3 squabbling really have helped lead to breakaway. Jeffrey Rufen leads by 3.2 seconds from Tobias Dauenhauer, who's there in 2nd place, and the gap back from him to Del So in 3rd, 3.2 seconds. So it really is a concertina then thereafter. Ulysse Del So, I don't think, has had as quick a car or is as quick a driver as Andre Castro or Lasse Sorensen, but he's just doing a fantastic job of positioning the car in the right places at the right time and making it almost impossible for those behind to work their way through. Are we going to see, if the race wears on, maybe another bump and run to try and shuffle this order? We've seen a few of them throughout the course of the EuroNASCAR Esports Series, and one of those came from Andre Castro to win the prologue race on the Daytona road course when he did a bump and run on Alan Day to grab the lead of the race with, half a lap to go. Down towards the bottom of the top 10, 9th place, number 70, the Mitsubishi Motors car of Eric Filgueras is under pressure from the PK Car Sport Chevy of Bavo Fallon. And there, the Ulysse Del So off the circuit by the look of things. That's a change of the order all the way through the gravel. Only saw the tail end of what happened, but we saw the Frenchman's car sliding off through the right-hander into the gravel on the left-hand side. That puts Andre Castro up into 3rd position. Lasse Sorensen up into 4th. Alex Sedgwick is up into 5th. Loris Hazemans moves through into 6th position. And Ulysse Del So eventually scrabbles back out of the gravel. And I think he's going to be in 7th place if he's not careful. It really depends whether Loris Hazemans had enough momentum to get through. And I think in the distance, yes, he has. He's just, I think, done it. And then problems for Andre Castro, who slows all of a sudden heading down the straight. Missed the gear or something happened there, because Andre Castro has now dropped down through the order and he is going to rejoin. Let's have a quick look now. Did he make contact and made sure he didn't get... Yeah, there was contact with the back of Ulysse Del So. Very light contact, which put Del So off the circuit. And I think Andre Castro probably realised that maybe his best bet was to give the place back. But unfortunately, that meant relinquishing positions all the way down into 8th place, because Alessandro Brigatti also squeezed through as well. So that has really shuffled the order. Jeffrey Rufen leads from Tobias Dauenhauer, but now the championship leader, Lasse Sorensen, is up into 3rd position. Up to 4th comes Alex Sedgwick, who's having a great run the British driver. Loris Hasemans is 5th. Ulysse Delceau was and still is in 6th place. And 7th place now is Andre Castro, who's got himself back ahead of Alessandro Bugatti, Eric Filgueiras and Bavo Follon complete the top 10. But we've now got 9 minutes to go. That's undone a load of the hard work for Andre Castro, who was hoping to bounce back after a difficult weekend at Watkins Glen when he finished in 14th place. And that now means that he's got a chunk more work to do on tyres that maybe are not quite as good as they were at the beginning of the race. We're looking at Loris Hasemans here, a driver who is flying 3rd in the championship standings coming into this one, but amazingly Loris Hasemans has not had a race win so far. He's looking to try and close in on the Ford of Alex Sedgwick. Alex, who did the part season with Brax last year, having done a full season the year before, and is hoping to be able to raise the budget to get back into EuroNASCAR Pro if he can in the 2020 season. But hasn't announced his plans as yet for the real racing season when we get things underway. And now we finally had a shuffle for 9th, 10th and 11th, because Eric Filgueiras has lost 2 positions here. Bavo Follon has gone through, and also sneaking through now is car number 342, which is the 42 racing car of Alex Fontana. So the yellow and black and white machine of Alex Fontana, the European Formula 3 champion back in 2011, gains the place, as does car number 9, which is Bavo Follon. Loris Hasemans up into 5th position, coming under pressure from Ulysse Delceau. You can see a bit of damage to the tail end of the Hendricks Ford, where he's had a knock in the right rear corner. 7.5 minutes to go. This is the fight for 4th, for 5th and for 6th position. The top 3 have escaped up the road. Jeffrey Ruffin leads by over 3.8 seconds now. And a further 4 seconds back from that is Lasse Sorensen. It's only when we get down to 4th, 5th and 6th where it starts to get very interesting. And I wouldn't rule out the car in 6th place getting caught either, which is Andre Castro back on a charge again, trying to work his way back up through the order. To wait and see what he might have left in the tank, Andre Castro. So there goes 3rd, 4th and 5th all together, the 6th place car. Sorry, 4th, 5th and 6th all together, with the 7th place car beginning to close in. Out of the left-hander, starting to accelerate again, build the speeds as they head over the crest and in towards what will be the braking area for the next of the right-handers. So they're just coming towards Hans Ernst Bocht now, which is the chicane that brings them up towards Kumo, the penultimate right-hander. And then from there it's on the gas and around the very fast right-hander at Arie Luyendyk, which concludes the 2.676 mile or 4.307 kilometre Zandvoort Grand Prix circuit configuration. Alex Sedgwick starting to feel the pressure. Loris Hasemans has begun to close in. The gap between the pair of them last time round came down by another 0.2 of a second. So another quarter of a second quicker was Loris Hasemans, and now he's in prime position to maybe queue up some sort of move here. The 2 Fords absolutely together. It's Fords 1 and 2. Lasse Sorensen is the leading Chevy there in 3rd place. Alex Sedgwick and Loris Hasemans in their pair of Fords in 4th and 5th, and then it's Chevys in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th at the moment. Speeds build again as they head up towards Rob Slottermacher and then over the crest of the hill in towards Söderflack. Ulysse Delceau, having had his gravelly moment, lost positions, was given the place back very sportingly by Andre Castro, and it's Andre Castro that he's trying to hold up again if at all he can. Is Castro going to be able to squeeze his way through? He has. He's just managed to sneak through and up the inside there. So place gained for Andre Castro, and done fairly on that occasion. That light contact when he tried it previously caused them both to have an issue. And now Andre Castro is back up into 6th position, and now is going to set his sights on trying to close in on the reigning EuroNASCAR Pro champion from last year. The number 50 Hendricks Ford of Loris Hasemans is just up the road. He's got 4.5 minutes to see whether he can close in. That is somebody heading for pit road by the look of things, and I think that was Simon Pilat, was it maybe, that was heading for pit road there with a rather smoky looking car, as we look at our race leader, Jeffrey Ruffin, and that is the gap that exists first to second. Jeffrey Ruffin from Tobias Bauernhauer. Not seen a lot of either of them for the last 10 minutes or so. That's largely because they've built the gap and have settled into their positions, as has this car here, Lasse Sorensen, who was able to capitalise when others were having problems. It's a bit of traffic just up the road though for the fourth place car of Alex Sedgwick, who needs to be careful here. We'll have to hope that that traffic moves neat and tidily out of the way, because he can't afford to be compromised. Loris Hasemans is right with him. Sensible driving from the lap car, just stays well and truly out of harm's way. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th all go through, and Alex Sedgwick will still be continuing to feel the pressure. The 21-year-old used to race in the Creventic series and did a bit of Ginetta Junior racing in the UK, did Alex Sedgwick. He's done some Clio Cup and a bit of Formula 4 racing in France as well, if memory serves me correctly, but is pretty experienced when it comes to iRacing. He's involved in several other series, but in this NASCAR Cup car, which is the standard cars that all have, standard setup for everybody. You choose whether you want the Ford, the Chevy or the Toyota, and other than that, the standard setup is given by the championship organisers, and that's what you have for testing and for the whole evening. They're all pretty evenly matched. Look how close it is still for 4th, for 5th, for 6th and for 7th. Andre, this is a great battle that is going on, and it's just allowed the lead 3 to break away, hasn't it?
Yes, right. I think the only one who can beat Jeffrey Ruffin is himself with a mistake or something like trouble during lap traffic or a problem with the car. I think Tobias Bauernhauer is safe in 2nd place, and then we have this great battle for 3rd. Okay, Lasse Sorensen is also gone, and then we have this great battle for 4th place, Sedgwick, Hasemans, Castro and Delso. And I think it was a very nice move by Andre Castro, giving back that position to Ulysse Dussault, despite losing several positions while doing it, going back and then overtake him in a fair manner. And now Andre Castro is trying to get back ahead of this group. I think he could be a little bit faster than Hasemans and Sedgwick. I think he's the fastest guy in the group right now, but he's stuck between those guys. He has to take a look, what are the guys ahead of me doing, what is Ulysse Dussault doing behind me. He has to have his eyes in the mirrors and to the front. I think that is a very uncomfortable position Andre Castro is in. I think the best positions are for Ulysse Dussault and Alex Sedgwick, because they just have to focus in one way.
I agree. Let's have a quick look. What's this? This is Ben Kriener getting involved, and unfortunately that's put Ben Kriener into the barriers, but I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, the Andre Castro, I think, was very sporting doing what he did and giving that place back. Maybe he was considering that had he not have given it back because of the contact, that race control might have looked at it and given him a penalty. So by giving the place back, he's not lost as much time as he would have done with something like a drive-through penalty, if that was maybe what race control had have deemed was appropriate. So maybe there was a bit of rolling the dice there and thinking that, yeah, I might lose a few places giving back the position to Ulysse Dussault, but it's far better than having something like a drive-through penalty being enforced. Well, the clock is now showing there are less than 60 seconds to go, so our race leader will now be on the final lap. We go back on board with Andre Castro, looking at the black car, the Hendricks Ford all over the place. Lots of arm twirling being done there by Loris Hasemans as the tail end of the car stepped away. Power oversteer coming out of the corner, and he just managed to hang on to it as the car briefly skipped sideways, and now he is still looking to both apply the pressure to the 78 of Alex Sedgwick that sits ahead for Brax Racing, supported by EVP, and also try and defend from Andre Castro and Ulysse Dussault. Let's just hope that they all don't bump into each other on the final lap, which is what we are on now. Jeffrey Ruffin and Tobias Bauernhauer and Lasse Sorensen a long way up the road, so no such worries for that 3, but this has been a great fight over the course of the last few laps for 4th, for 5th, for 6th and for 7th position. It's not gone smoothly for any of them, probably in that 4, other than Loris Hasemans. Everybody else has had a little issue at some point, but they head up towards the braking area for the next little complex of corners with the 2 Fords ahead of the 2 Chevys. Sedgwick from Hasemans, then Andre Castro from Ulysse Dussault. Time is running out for any shuffle in this order now. Race leaders will be heading over the start-finish line any second, I would have thought, and yeah, bang on cue. The camera changes and shows me Jeffrey Ruffin heading up towards Kumo, ready to take the checkered flag. Is Andre Castro going to have one last nibble at what is going to be Loris Hazeman's? Well, he had a go there, and that might open the door for Ulysse Delceau, but Delceau's on the curbs to try and avoid any contact as well. Jeffrey Ruffin is about to take the checkered flag and heads over the start-finish line to grab the win. Tobias Dauenhauer will finish in second position. You can just see in the distance coming over the start-finish line. Lasse Sorensen will finish in third. Who's going to finish in fourth? It is going to be Alex Sedgwick comes through to finish in fourth position. A season's best for Alex Sedgwick as he finishes in fourth place. Loris Hazeman's finishes in fifth place, and what was a great fight that was going on between them all. Andre Castro finishes in sixth place, Ulysse Delceau in seventh. Alessandro Brigatti started third, finished eighth, didn't quite happen for him in the end. Bavo Fallon finishes in ninth place, and Alex Fontana completes the top 10. But that was some really, really good racing there. There were a few little incidents along the way, but we didn't have the big one that we had at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago. And certainly for Jeffrey Ruffin, that has gone perfectly to plan. That, if we include the wins that he's taken in the heats, now means that he has won 4 races over the course of the esports season for 2019, the EuroNASCAR Esports season. So we will await the drivers to ready up for us in commentary. We will see whether we can bring you a confirmation of the results. The drivers are all busy doing donuts and celebrating another great evening of EuroNASCAR esports racing. And if we can just get confirmation then of the results popping up, we can guide you through that. And I think we've probably got some more clips from Moss to look back at some of the action from 2019 season. So confirmation of the results. Jeffrey Ruffin claims the win. Tobias Dauenhauer in second place. Lasse Sorensen finishes in third place ahead of Alex Sedgwick in fourth. Loris Hazeman's and Andre Castro complete the top 6. Ulysse Delceau was in seventh. Alessandro Brigatti in eighth place. Bavo Fallon in ninth, and Alex Fontana in 10th. Then it was Andreas Jochimsen in 11th ahead of Eric Filgaris. Mikael Bantegam, Davide Delara, Brian Kruls, Ben Kriener, and then in 17th place, that is where we see Antonio Pavida. Giorgio Maggi finished in 18th place, and then as we head outside of the top 18, Nave Talar in 19th, Stefano Gustavalle completes the top 20. So we're going to grab a quick word with the first of our drivers, who's already joined us in the commentary box. Jeffrey Ruffin, well done. A dominant win. You got the break early on, and well, now that means that's your first main championship race, but your fourth if we include all the heat wins that you've had.
Yeah, we had a good win now, so really happy with it. Was aiming for that win, so it looks promising already, the heat and the qualifiers. So I cannot thank enough everyone from Hendrick Motorsport, from Orion, from Dutch NASCAR fans, everyone. Thank you for all the help, and now up to the neck for.
You look at your consistency that you've had this year, Jeffrey. You finished in the top, well, not just the top 10. You finished in the top 8 in every race so far.
Yeah, it looks really good. So I'm happy with it. It was a bit managing the tires at the end, so to got something to play with if Tobias was coming close. So yeah, we managed that gap really well. So
you now get a